Good day, viewers. Once again, I'm impressed to meet with you, and then we have another topic today, which is called the economic system, and our subject is economics. Now, first of all, define what is known as economic system. Like we have in the write-up on the board, said it may be defined as a medium or an organized way by which the means of production in a state is utilized in order to satisfy human wants. Alright? And basically there are three types of economic system. We have the capitalist economic system, we have the socialist economic system, and we have the free market economic system. So we have the three of them, which is important for you to take into consideration. Now, what is the capitalist economic system? Now, the capitalist economic system is an economic system in which all economic activities, that is the means of production, is vested in the hands of private individuals and firms, and little or none is handled by the government. Now, when you talk about the capitalist economic system, every economic activity is done by private individuals or firms. And it's either the government participates little or they do not participate at all. Examples of countries that practices the capitalist economic system is USA. Britain also practices the capitalist economic system. So they don't allow the government at all to participate in it. Every economic activity is done by them. It is otherwise known as laissez-faire. Laissez-faire, the laissez-faire economic system. It's a French language, and that's one of the reasons why it's written in such on English, okay? But it's otherwise known as the laissez-faire economic system. Now let's look at the features of the capitalist economic system. Features of the capitalist economic system. Number one, there is private ownership of property or property. So there is private ownership of property or property. So under the features of these, you realize that you are the owner of your property. It's not shared with anybody. You don't need to start asking the government whether the government will participate in it or not. Two, there is existence of competition. Three, more profit will be made. So you observe that during the capitalist economic system, you realize that you have so many people who are doing the same thing, so there is competition. And you realize that because government is not intervening, you make a lot of profit as a result of that. We have individual satisfaction. Why are we having individual satisfaction? Because there are so many alternatives. People consume, they buy the best. Because if your own is not doing better, you can see our network, our telecommunication network. We have the gym, you have the Glo, you have the MTN, you have our other network that is there. And if your own is not doing well, what do? They leave you and go and buy the one that is better. So there's individual satisfaction. They have more production and consumption. Are regulated by price system. Production and consumption are regulated by price system. I remember when I taught a topic related to the price system, when I said the government is it is when the interplay of the force of demand and supply determine the price of the goods and services. So in this case now, you cannot just fix the price. It is the consumers that will fix the price. So if your price is too high, consumers have the right not to buy. So that way, when production and consumption are regulated by price system, is one of the features of the capitalist economic system. All right. Now we'll go straight to the socialist economic system. All right. Before we go to the socialist economic system, let's look at some advantages of the capitalist and some disadvantage of the capitalist. Then we now go straight to the socialist economic system. So we go straight now to the advantages of the capitalist economic system. Alright, you observe that one of the advantages there is that there's fair enterprise, that you are able to to locate your business and then get yourself engaged in economic and productive activity. Then number two, it encourages hard work. In this case now, you can work hard and get the benefit of hard work. Why? Because you are involved in economic and productive activity. Number three, there's increased profits. There is increased profits. So that's another advantage as a person that has a commodity. You have increased profit as a result of what you have opened. Then number four, it leads to specialization. It leads to specialization. You just observe that you are actively involved in a particular thing, and that actually leads to you being a specialist in it, because the continuous act of doing a particular thing is what we call specialization. Number five, it enhances technological development. When you continue doing a particular thing, what happens? You realize that you're improving in that thing. And now if you're involved in anything that is involved in technological aspect, there's always an improvement in that. So you can see, for example, those countries that are involved in producing technological activities, what they do, they always improve over time. You always see a greater version of what they have produced in the past. Why? Because there's competition. This one wants to do better than the other one, and they are not sleeping. There's always research just to make themselves always better than. So you see Ford, when Ford was in existence, or is still in existence, you realize that the way it was then is not the way it is now. Ford has been in existence quite over 50 years now, and it's always still evolving, and they always try as much as possible to get better. Why? Because they know that their counterparts, the Volkswagen, the other Toyota, they are there, they are not sleeping. So they always improve on what they are doing. They also create employment opportunity. It creates employment. Whether you like it or not, people are working there. So as they are bringing or setting more industries, people are working there. Number seven, it increases or improves the standard of living. You observe that the standard of living is improving on a daily basis as a result of what they are doing. So it improves the standard of living on a daily basis. So we go straight to the disadvantages. Number one, it creates monopoly. Disadvantage number one, it creates monopoly. And what is monopoly? One way or the other, you just realize that you are the owner of your brand. And even though there is competition, you are still the owner of your brand. So you are creating monopoly in that your brand. Okay? So that's one of number two. Another disadvantage is that you exploit the consumers. There's always an exploit, because you are making so much profit, and the government cannot just intervene. So the consumers suffers for it, and as a result of that. Number three, there's always adverse competition. There might be unhealthy competition, because you're always after the next person. And if care not taken, the competition will be very, very, very unhealthy. And that can constitute or create problems within those that are in the same productive space. So if one must be careful not to get yourself involved in such. And you realize that another disadvantage of this capitalist or the capitalist economic system, there's always a wide margin or gap between the rich and the poor. You observe that the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. Why? Because the rich are always using their IQ, their intelligence, and they engage people to work for them, and as a result of that, they get bulk of the money, while the poor gets peanuts. And there is always this disparity between the rich and the poor. Okay. And the last one I also want to talk about is that it can create wastes. You observe that a lot of people you are producing almost the same kind of a thing, and before you know, if this one produces, that one produces, it becomes excess in supply, and that can lead to wastage. So that is the disadvantage of the capitalist economic system. So having discussed on that, we'll go straight to the socialist economic system. Now, what is the socialist economic system? I rightly define the capitalist economic system as an economic system where all economic activities are vested in the hands of private individuals and firms. Now, when you talk about socialist economic system, you are talking about an economic system where all economic activities are vested in the hands of the government rather than the individual. So under this economic system, it is the government that participates in economic and productive activity. Now, another name for the socialist economic system is the centrally planned economic system, or a governed economic system, or you can also call it a controlled economic system, and all these are vested in the hands of the government. So you can call it a centrally planned economic system, a governed economic system, a controlled economic world system. So they are still the same thing. Now, there are some features that we must take into consideration. Number one of the features is that there is state ownership of production. There is state ownership of the means of production. So in this case, like I told us earlier on, it is the government that participates in the economic activity. So the state ownership of means of production is owned by the government. So it is every means of production is owned by the government. Number two, is not profit motive. Not profit motive. Three, no competition. Four, no exploitation. Five, it promotes welfare. 6, it increases the standard of living. 'So these are the features of the socialist economic system. There's state ownership, which I talked about. They're not profit motive. It's not, the government is not interested in making profit as it were, except if it's commercialization, where the government can now decide to allow its own to now be used. Formerly, public corporation to now be used to start making money, but this one is not like that. Then there's no competition, it's like monopoly. This is monopoly. Only the government is in it. Then there is no exploitation. Of course, in this case, the government is interested in providing essential services, so it's not interested in exploiting the citizen. Then number 5, it promotes the welfare. It promotes welfare. Every reason government is interested in ensuring that everybody's well-being is being taken care of. So it promotes welfare. And lastly, it increases the standard of living. You observe that everybody's standard of living will be increased as a result of that. So we'll go straight to the advantages now of economics, of socialist economic system. Advantages. Number 1, there is equitable distribution of resources. 2, absence of exploitation. 'So there's equitable distribution of resources. Equitable distribution of resources means that everybody will be entitled to something. Everybody in a sane economic system. And I mean sane is that in normal situation, all things being equal, there is no cheating. Then absence of exploitation, like we saw in the future. You will not be exploited, because this time around government is not interested in making profit. It's ensuring that everybody will be given priority. Number 3, there's employment opportunity. Alright, in this case, it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that it provides employment opportunity for those people that are interested in getting employment. So there's employment opportunity. Number 4, there's provision for more goods. There is provision for more goods. 5. It allows for economic development. So there is provision for more goods. Why? Because government is interested in the welfareism of the citizen, so it ensures that goods are produced. Then it allows for economic development. In this case, what happens in this case? There is economic development. Your government is always interested in ensuring that there is infrastructures that will benefit the public at large. Now we'll go straight to disadvantages now. Disadvantages. Disadvantages of socialist economic system. Disadvantage of socialist economic system. Number 1, there is absence of competition. Now, one is a great disadvantage because if your commodity is substandard, nobody challenges you. Government will just be the one that will be doing whatever he or she wishes to do. So it's not a right thing for a country to develop because you don't have a rival. So there is no competition. So as a result of that, you just realize that you are just producing whatever. Consumers have no choice, that you just take whatever the government is giving to them. Then number 2, it creates room for laziness. It creates room for laziness. Of course, people will not be working, so you just realize that they know that government will provide for them. So whether they work or they don't work, they know that government will provide for them. Then number 3, it slows down economic development. It slows down economic development. How? People who have ideas, business acumen, are caged, and they are all dependent on the government. So development cannot be as mass as it's supposed to be, as massive as it's supposed to be. So it slows down the economic development. Then number 4, it leads to state monopoly. It leads to state monopoly. Of course, in this case, there's only the government that will be involved in producing goods and services, and that is for state monopoly. Now let's go straight towards the next economic system, which is what? The capitalists. We've done the capitalists, we've done the socialists. We'll now go to the next one, which is what? The mixed market economic system. Mixed market economic system. Mixed market economic system. Now, what is the mixed market economic system? When you talk about the mixed market economic system, you are talking about an economic system where all the economic activities are vested in the hands of private individuals and the government. So in this case, all the economic activities are vested in both the hands of private individuals and the government. So both the individuals and the government engage in economic and productive activity. Now let's go straight to the word features of the mixed economic system. Features of the mixed economic system. Number 1, there is joint participation of production of goods and services. So both the government and the individual, there is joint participation in the production of goods and services. Then number 2, there is what? Joint decision. There is joint decision. Number 3, there is a freedom of choice. You observe that there is joint decision. The private says theirs, the public says theirs, and there's also a freedom of choice in the mixed economic system. That's 3, then 4. 4, there is fair competition between the government and the private competitors. There is fair competition. So because both of them are involved in the production of goods and services, so at least there must always be this competition between the government and the investors that are involved in production of goods and services. Quickly, we'll go straight to the advantages. Advantages of mixed economic system. Advantages of mixed economic what? System. Now, number one, it encourages private initiative. Then two, there's freedom of choice. Then three, there is equality distribution of income, equitable distribution of income. Then four, it ensures job security. Alright, now when you look at this, first one, it encourages private initiative, everybody is involved in it, and as well it enables the private individuals also to give their own idea concerning whatever they feel about it. There is also freedom of choice. There's a choice between the consumers, so you either purchase from the government or the other consumers. There's choice, there's freedom of choice, unlike the socialist economic system. Then there's an equitable distribution of income. You realize that the distribution income is balanced between the private and the public sector. Everybody is engaged in one thing or the other. Then it ensures job security. It's either you're getting a job for the government or you're getting a job for the private hands. There's always job security there, because both the government and the private individuals are all engaged in the production of goods and services. Alright, now we are looking at the disadvantages of the mixed economic system now. Now we have number one, inequality of wealth. You know that we have the mixed economic system, that there's the private sector and there's the public sector. So there's usually this inequality of wealth. More often than not, you realize that the government will tell you that it's giving a particular amount to the public sector as wages and salary, but the private firm is not able to meet up what the government could do. Or sometimes even the private firm, usually they pay higher than the government firm. So there's always this equilibrium of income between the public and the private firm. They also have emphasis on profit. Definitely they're in business, so you cannot rule out the profit. And once your emphasis is usually made on profit, the consumer suffers it. And more often than not, a lot of them actually get involved in high profit at the expense of the consumers. Then three, there's lack of efficiency. You just realize that instead of efficiency to be the watchword, it is profit. And once there's profit-oriented organization, you observe that they are not able to give in their best, and the consumers are there to suffer for what is the greed of the parties that are involved in the production of goods and services. Then corruption and mismanagement is more in the public sector, because in this case you just observe that more often than not the public sector allows people to manage their business, and these people who say is it my father's business, they are there to just embezzle and embezzle. And even in the private sector the same thing occurs, because they are not the one that has it. So this is always a problem. So these are the disadvantages that occurs in the mixed market economic system. So in summary, we've not been able to look at the economic system, where we look at the capitalist economic system, the socialist economic system, and the mixed market economic system. We looked at their features, we looked at their advantages, we looked at their disadvantages. I want to believe in my next class that you're able to say it as it were whenever you are asked questions that is related to the economic system. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.